I'm Joanna, 34 years old, and I'm standing in the furthest corner of a funeral home. I'm clutching a white lily, while the family that raised me acts like I don't even exist. Beatrice, my foster mother, just walked right past me, dabbing at her dry eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. My foster father, Kevin, didn't even give me a second glance. My brothers, the so-called golden boys, Frank and Tyler, are accepting condolences like they're minor celebrities. I'm a stranger at the funeral of my own grandfather, George, the only person in that house who ever showed me any kindness. I don't cry. I don't scream. I just stand there, tall and straight. My expression is neutral as I watch this whole theater play out. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, tell me where you're from in the comments, and subscribe to my channel. You definitely don't want to miss what happened next. When you're the disappointment of the family, you eventually reach a point where you don't have to disappoint yourself anymore. I learned that lesson early. I was 4 years old when I moved in with the Coles. At least, that's what they told me. Before that, there are no memories, just fragments. A woman's laughter, the smell of cinnamon, a blue toy truck. Nothing concrete. I was different from day one. While Frank and Tyler had their own rooms with custom furniture and the latest toys, I slept in a glorified storage room on a sagging mattress. They got new clothes every season. I wore hand-me-downs from cousins I'd never even met. They celebrated birthdays with professional entertainers. I got a store-bought muffin if anyone even remembered. Joanna, the dishes need to be washed. Joanna, fold the laundry. Joanna, why can't you be grateful for everything we've done for you? That was my childhood, a daily reminder that I was a charity case. A burden, the unpaid housekeeper. Only Grandpa George really saw me. He'd secretly slip me books. During his visits, he taught me how to play chess. He'd wink at me across the dinner table whenever Beatrice never mom complained about my mediocre grades or my stubborn hair. "You have fire in you, sweetheart," he'd whisper when we were alone. "Don't let them put it out." I moved out the day after my 21st birthday. There was no dramatic exit. I just packed my few belongings while everyone was away at one of Tyler's American football games and walked out the door. I got a job as a housekeeper at a hotel, rented an apartment with roommates, and started taking night classes at the community college. For 23 years, I built my life brick by brick. I got my degree in business administration, saved every penny, and opened a small bakery that quickly became a neighborhood favorite. I created my own family, out of friends who chose me, friends who celebrated my successes and held me during my losses. I only saw the Coles once in all those years. When I ran into Beatrice at the supermarket, she looked me up and down, huffed, and said, "Still cleaning up after people, I see." I didn't correct her. I let her believe I was still a housekeeper. Her opinion hadn't mattered to me for a long time. Last week, I got a call from a lawyer. Grandpa George had passed away. Against my better judgment, I decided to go to the funeral. Not for them, but for him. That's why I'm standing here in a simple black dress that cost more than my monthly food budget when I was a student, watching the family that never wanted me pretend to mourn a man whose kindness they never appreciated. I'm just about to leave. This farce has gone on long enough. That's when an older woman approaches me. She's small, hunched with age, her white hair pulled back in a neat bun. I don't recognize her, but there's something striking in her eyes, a sense of purpose. "Joanna Cole?" she asks, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Just Joanna," I correct her automatically. I dropped the last name the day I moved out. She looks around nervously and then pulls me behind a large floral arrangement. "I've waited so long for this moment," she says. Her hands are shaking as she reaches into her oversized purse. "I'm sorry. Do I know you?" "No, sweetheart, but I know you." She pulls out a yellowed envelope. "I worked at the Sunshine Adoption Agency in 1990. I helped with your paperwork." A cold shiver runs down my spine. "My adoption papers?" She looks at me with so much sadness that I take a step back. "You were never adopted, Joanna. You were stolen." My first instinct is to laugh. It bubbles up inside me, inappropriate and shrill. The old woman, whose name I still don't know, looks at me with such earnest intensity that the laughter dies in my throat. "Stolen? What are you talking about?" I keep my voice muffled, acutely aware that the Coles are socializing just a few feet away. "My name is Edith Stein," she says, pressing the envelope into my hand. "I've been looking for you for 30 years. I take the envelope automatically, feeling the brittle paper between my fingers. This is crazy. I was adopted. The Coles. The papers were forged. I helped forge them. Her confession comes out in a tortured whisper. "It's the greatest sin of my life, and I've spent decades trying to make it right." I open the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside are newspaper clippings, yellowed with age. The headlines jump out at me. 4-year-old missing from Victorian estate in San Francisco? Search for missing. Berghoff heiress continues. Reward doubled, hope fades. There's a photo of a little girl with blonde curls, a gap-toothed smile, and a red dress. She's sitting on a man's lap. A woman is by his side. All three are smiling at the camera. That's you, Edith says softly. With your biological parents, Maxwell and Clara Berghoff. I stare at the child in the photo, searching for myself in her features. The hair matches. I still have those unruly blonde curls. But the happy, carefree expression, I don't recognize that at all. Why? The question comes out like a choke. Why did they take me? Edith glances over at Kevin Cole, who is accepting condolences with a practiced, mournful expression. Money. Your biological father is, extremely wealthy. The original plan was ransom, but when the story hit the national news, they panicked. They couldn't return you without getting caught. My mind is racing. A memory surfaces. Kevin, shouting at Beatrice after too much wine. Because of you, we're stuck with her forever. I had assumed it was about the adoption that Beatrice had insisted on taking a child, and Kevin hated it. How do you know all this? I ask, suddenly suspicious. I overheard Kevin on the phone at the agency. How he talked about needing documents for a private adoption immediately. Cash only, no questions asked. I needed the money. My husband was sick. The medical bills were piling up. Her eyes fill with tears. I've regretted it every single day. But why come forward with this now? I've been trying to find you. When I saw George Cole's obituary, I knew there was a chance you'd be at the funeral. I had to take it. She reaches into her purse again and pulls out a more recent newspaper clipping. Your parents never stopped looking. The reward. She hesitates. It's at $100 million now. I almost dropped the envelope. $100 million. Your father built a tech empire in the years after you disappeared. He's dedicated a significant portion of his fortune to finding you. The room spins slightly. I reach for the edge of a nearby chair to steady myself. They're still alive. My biological parents. And they're still in San Francisco, still hoping. I look over at the Coles, these people who stole me, who treated me like a servant, who made me feel worthless every single day of my childhood. A cold, clarifying anger washes over me. Tell me everything, I say to Edith. My voice is calmer than I feel. I want to know exactly what happened. As Edith begins to speak, I notice Kevin watching us from across the room. His face is suddenly pale as a sheet. Our eyes meet, and I see something I've never seen there before. Fear. Good. The drive back to my apartment is a blur. My hands grip the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turn white, but I don't feel it. My mind is racing, combing through every childhood memory and examining them through this new, horrifying lens. The isolation, the unfair treatment, the lack of baby photos, the way they never celebrated the day I came to them like other adoptive families might. The strange, hushed arguments that stopped the moment I entered the room. It wasn't that they didn't want an adopted child. It was that they were criminals who had stolen a human being. I pull into my parking spot behind the bakery and just sit in the car. The engine is off. I stare into space. Finally, I reach for the envelope Edith gave me and head up to my apartment. It's a small apartment, but it's mine. Exposed brick walls, plants thriving on every windowsill, bookshelves filled with volumes I bought with my own money, the scent of vanilla and cinnamon following me up from the bakery downstairs. This is the life I built for myself in spite of them. I spread the newspaper clippings out on my kitchen table and arrange them chronologically. The story unfolds before me like a nightmare. April 1994. 4-year-old Joanna Berghoff disappears from the garden of her San Francisco Victorian estate while her nanny steps inside for a moment to answer the phone. April 1994. The parents, Maxwell and Clara Berghoff, make an emotional plea to the public to return their daughter. They offer a $500,000 reward, no questions asked. April 1995. The reward is increased to $1 million as the search continues. The FBI joins the investigation. May 1997. A new lead in the Berghoff case proves to be false. The family is devastated. The articles trace the case as it gradually faded from the headlines but was never quite forgotten. Every year, on the anniversary of my disappearance, there was an update. The reward was increased. My parents started a foundation for missing children. Age progression photos, which I notice with a shiver, look remarkably like me. The most recent clipping is from only 3 months ago, marking the 30th anniversary of my kidnapping. My father, now 76, and my mother, 65, still haven't given up hope. The reward now stands at a staggering $100 million, a testament to their refusal to quit. At the bottom of the article, a website is listed, findjoanna.com. With trembling hands, I open my laptop and type in the address. The page loads, and I stare at my own face, or what technology predicted I would look like today. The resemblance is uncanny. There are photos of my parents, older now, gray-haired, but with the same determined expression they had in those first clippings. There's a contact form, a phone number, an email address, ways to submit tips or information. My finger hovers over the keyboard. What would I even say? Hello, I think I'm your long-lost daughter. The people who raised me stole me from you and treated me like garbage for years. My phone rings, startling me so much that I knock over my cold coffee. It's an unknown number. For a moment, I irrationally think it's them. My biological parents, somehow sensing I've discovered the truth. But that's ridiculous, I answer tiredly. Hello, Joanna. It's Kevin Cole's voice, cold and controlled as ever. We need to talk. My blood freezes in my veins. I have nothing to say to you. That old woman at the funeral. What did she tell you? The truth, I say simply. Which is more than you ever did. There's a long pause, then a heavy sigh. It's complicated, Joanna. It wasn't supposed to happen the way it did. You kidnapped a child, I interrupt. My voice gets louder. You stole me from my family and made me work like a servant while you treated your biological children like princes. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You're criminals, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows it. I hang up before he can answer. My heart is racing. My phone rings again immediately. I ignore it. Then again and again. Finally, a text message. Think very carefully about what you do next. You have no proof. No one will believe you. And you have no idea what you're up against. The threat is clear, but instead of fear, all I feel is determination. I go back to the website, and before I can change my mind, I fill out the contact form with a simple message. I think I might be Joanna Berghoff. I need to speak with Maxwell and Clara Berghoff as soon as possible. I hit send and wait. I don't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I close my eyes, I see the little girl in the red dress, the happy family I was stolen from, the life I should have had. In the morning, I'm running on nothing but adrenaline and coffee. I open the bakery as usual at 5, going through the routine of kneading dough and firing up the ovens. My assistant, Lena, arrives at 6 and knows immediately that something is wrong. You look like you've seen a ghost, she says, tying on her apron. Is everything okay? I consider telling her everything, but the words get stuck in my throat. It's too much, too unbelievable. Just didn't sleep well, I say instead. Can you handle the front today? I need to stay in the kitchen. Baking has always been my therapy. There's something soothing in the precision of the chemistry, the transformation of simple ingredients into something wonderful. Today, I lose myself in it, trying to silence the chaos in my head. By noon, I've checked my email and the website's contact form a dozen times. Nothing. I try not to be disappointed. It's probably a busy form filled with false leads and wild claims. Mine might just be another dead end for the Berghoffs. My phone rings again. Kevin for the 5th time today. I mute it and fold the cake crust with more force than necessary. The bell over the bakery door rings. Lena's cheerful greeting carries into the kitchen, followed by a man's voice I don't recognize. Then Lena appears in the doorway, looking puzzled. There's a guy asking for you. Says he's a private investigator. My heart leaps into my throat. Did he say what it's about? Nope. Just that it's important. I wipe my flour-covered hands on my apron and step out into the shop. A tall man in a well-tailored suit stands there, surveying the pastry counter. He's in his 50s, with salt and pepper hair and the watchful eyes of someone who notices everything. I'm Joanna, I say, and his head snaps up. Miss Cole, I'm Lucas Vogt. I represent Maxwell and Clara Berghoff. He holds out a business card. Is there somewhere we can speak privately? My knees nearly give out. Yes, we can go up to my apartment. I lead him through the back of the bakery and up the narrow stairs, painfully aware of my racing pulse and the trail of flour I'm leaving behind. I apologize for showing up without warning, he says as I close the apartment door. But when the Berghoffs received your message last night, they asked me to verify your claim as quickly as possible. That was fast, I say, still standing awkwardly by the door. I only sent it last night. The Berghoffs have been waiting 30 years, Miss Cole. They waste no time when it comes to leads about their daughter. He studies me closely. I have to say, You have a striking resemblance to Clara. I don't know how to respond to that. Instead, I offer him a seat at my kitchen table, which is still covered in the newspaper clippings Edith gave me. I see you've been doing your research, he comments, looking at the articles. Yesterday, a woman approached me at a funeral, Edith Stein. She said she helped forge adoption papers for me. I take a deep breath. She told me I was kidnapped. Lucas nods and takes notes in a small notebook. We know Mrs. Stein. She reached out to the Berghoff family with her suspicions about 5 years ago, but she didn't have enough information for them to track you down. So you believe me? I'm here to verify her claim. The Berghoffs have had many false leads over the years. People hoping for a piece of the reward money. A flash of anger rises to my cheeks. I don't care about the money. He raises an eyebrow. $100 million is a lot of money to not care about. I care about the truth, I say firmly, and about finding my biological family, if that's who they are. Lucas's expression softens slightly. We're going to find out. He reaches into his briefcase and pulls out a small kit. I need to take a DNA sample. A simple cheek swab. The Berghoffs have their profiles on file with several databases. We should have preliminary results within 24 to 48 hours. I nod, suddenly nervous. What if I'm wrong? What if this is all some complicated mistake? As he prepares the swab, my phone vibrates with another text from Kevin. We're coming over. We need to talk in private. I show the message to Lucas, whose expression immediately turns serious. The Coles. They know you've discovered the truth. Kevin called me last night. He threatened me. Lucas quickly finishes collecting the DNA sample and seals it in a labeled container. Joanna, listen to me carefully. If what you're saying is true, the people who raised you are guilty of a federal crime that doesn't expire. They have every reason to want to silence you. A shiver runs through me. Do you think they would hurt me? I believe people who would steal a child are capable of many things. He hands me a card with his cell phone number. Call me immediately if they contact you again, and do not meet with them alone. Right on cue, my phone vibrates with another message. We're outside your bakery. Come down right now. I show it to Lucas, who immediately pulls out his own phone. I'm calling the police. Officers Mills and Barrett are soon sitting at my kitchen table taking statements, while Lucas paces by the window with his phone pressed to his ear. Below us, the Coles are waiting in the bakery, unaware of what's happening upstairs. Let me get this straight, Officer Mills says, frowning as she looks over her notes. You believe you were kidnapped as a child, and the people who raised you are the kidnappers. Yes, and you only discovered this yesterday at a funeral. She exchanges a look with her partner that clearly says she thinks I'm losing it. But then Lucas joins us at the table and slides a tablet toward the officers. I just emailed you the case file for the 1,995 kidnapping of Joanna Berghoff. It includes the original police reports, the FBI involvement, and the subsequent investigation updates. I've also included Mrs. Stein's statement from 5 years ago regarding her involvement in forging the adoption records. The officers look at the tablet, scrolling through what is clearly an extensive file. Their expressions shift from skepticism to surprise. This is quite a case, Officer Barrett finally says. But without DNA confirmation, it's being expedited as we speak, Lucas interrupts. In the meantime, the people who likely committed this crime are downstairs and may intend to threaten or harm her. Officer Mills stands up. We'll go talk to them. Joanna, you should stay up here for now. Actually, I say, standing up as well. I want to confront them while you're present. Lucas looks like he wants to argue, but something in my expression must convince him. I think that's a reasonable request, officers. Joanna deserves answers. We head down the stairs to the bakery. Lena has closed the shop and turned the sign to closed for a family emergency, which is more accurate than she can imagine. Through the glass door, I see Kevin and Beatrice Cole waiting. Their faces are tight with barely suppressed rage. Officer Mills opens the door. Mr. and Mrs. Cole, I'm Officer Mills. This is Officer Barrett. We'd like to ask you some questions. Beatrice's perfectly styled head snaps around. What is this, Joanna? Why are the police here? I step forward, with Lucas slightly behind me as a calming presence. They're here because I know the truth about who I am, and about what you did. The color drains from Kevin's face. Whatever that old woman told you at the funeral was the truth. I finished the sentence for him. I was never adopted. You stole me. That's absurd. Beatrice sneers, but her voice trembles slightly. Officers, our daughter is clearly having some kind of breakdown. I am not your daughter, I say. My voice is steady despite the emotions swirling inside me. My name is Joanna Berghoff. My biological parents are Maxwell and Clara Berghoff, and they've been looking for me for 30 years. Kevin steps forward, pointing a finger at Lucas. And who is this? Someone taking advantage of her delusions? Lucas Vogt, private investigator representing the Berghoff family. He holds out a business card that the older man refuses to take. We have already collected DNA evidence that will confirm Joanna's identity. This is ridiculous, Beatrice stutters. We have adoption papers. Everything was legal. Forged papers, I say quietly. Edith Stein has already confessed to helping you create them. At the mention of Edith's name, Kevin's composure finally breaks. That senile old woman doesn't know what she's talking about. That was 30 years ago. Officer Barrett steps forward. So you do know Mrs. Stein, Mr. Cole? Kevin realizes his mistake too late. He looks at Beatrice, whose face has turned ashen. We want our lawyer, she says stiffly. We aren't saying anything else without legal counsel. That is your right, Officer Mills says. But we'd like you both to come down to the station to answer some questions. This is an outrage, Kevin blusters. But there is fear in his eyes now. You can't possibly believe this fantasy. I step closer to him. Closer than I've willingly been in years. Why did you do it? Why steal a child just to treat her like she was worth nothing? For a moment, something like shame flickers across his face. Then it hardens again. You have no idea what you're talking about. Mr. and Mrs. Cole, Officer Barrett says firmly. Please come with us. As they are led out, Beatrice turns back to me. Her face is distorted by a mix of fear and defiance. We gave you a home. We clothed you, fed you. Without us, who knows where you would have ended up? The irony of her statement is so absurd that I actually laugh. It's a sharp, bitter sound that makes her flinch. Without you, I would have grown up with my biological family. People who wanted me, who loved me, who spent 3 decades and $100 million trying to find me. Kevin remains silent as the officers lead them to separate patrol cars. I watch them from the bakery door, Lucas beside me, as they drive away. What happens now? I ask, suddenly exhausted. Now we wait for the DNA results, Lucas says gently. But based on their reaction, I think we already know the truth. My phone vibrates with a text message from an unknown number. Joanna, this is Maxwell Berghoff. Lucas told us what happened. Clara and I are on our way to you. We'll be there tomorrow morning. I hope that's all right. I show Lucas the message, and he nods. I told them about the confrontation, I say, finishing the sentence. They wanted to give you space, but they've waited 30 years. Tears finally fill my eyes. Tell them yes. Tell them I want to meet them. I'm not opening the bakery tomorrow. Lena is taking care of calling our regular customers to explain the unexpected closure. I don't tell her why. How could I? Only that there's a family emergency. Lucas stays with me all afternoon, making calls, informing the Berghoffs, and speaking with the police. The Coles were released until the situation is cleared up, but they were given orders not to contact me. What about my brothers? I ask suddenly. The thought occurs to me for the first time. Frank and Tyler, did they know? That's hard to say, Lucas answers thoughtfully. They would have been very young when it happened. Tyler is 2 years younger than you. Frank is 4 years younger. They might not even remember when you first came to them. We'll have to investigate their involvement, if there was any. But for now, let's focus on reuniting you with your biological family. Biological family? The words sound strange. For so long, I had accepted that I had no real family, that I was alone in the world. Now, I'm preparing to meet the parents I was stolen from 3 decades ago. I spend the evening in a state of nervous anticipation, cleaning my already clean apartment, changing clothes 3 times, and wondering what I'm supposed to say to these strangers who are my parents. Lucas arranges for me to spend the night in a hotel. Just as a precaution, he says, though we both know he's worried about the Coles. Before I leave, I pack an overnight bag and a small photo album, pictures of me that I took when I left the Coles house. Not because they were happy memories, but because I didn't want them to keep any part of me. In the hotel room, I spread the photos out on the bed. School photos where I'm not quite smiling. Christmas mornings where Frank and Tyler are surrounded by gifts while I only have 1 or 2 small packages. Family vacations where I'm always slightly separated from the others, often taking the photo instead of being in it. Did my biological parents take many pictures? Did they carefully keep albums of my first 4 years? Will they expect me to remember them? To feel an immediate connection? I barely sleep. And by morning, I'm a bundle of nerves. Lucas picks me up at 9 and looks surprisingly fresh, despite the long night he's likely had too. Is there any news from the police? I ask as we drive back to my bakery, where I've agreed to meet the Berghoffs. They've opened a formal investigation. The FBI was notified because of the cross-border nature of the crime. He looks at me and adds, "We also received the preliminary DNA results this morning. My heart skips a beat. A 99.9% match. You are Joanna Burkhoff. Even though I'd known it in my heart since Edith approached me at the funeral, the scientific confirmation makes it real in a way it wasn't before. I press a hand to my mouth, trying to hold back the sob that wants to escape. They'll be here in about 30 minutes, Lucas says gently. They flew in last night and stayed at a hotel. What are they like? I ask, desperate for any information. My biological parents. Lucas smiles. It's the first real smile I've seen from him. They're good people. They never gave up hope of finding you. Not for a single day. Maxwell started his tech company, in part, to fund the search and set the reward. Clara runs a foundation for missing children. Your disappearance shaped their entire lives. Do they have other children? A shadow crosses his face. No, they wanted to. But after you were taken, well, the trauma of that loss hit them deeply. The weight of it settles on me. I wasn't just stolen from them. Their chance at a larger family was stolen too. 30 years of grief and searching. Their lives were forever changed by what the Coles did. We arrive at the bakery, and I let us in through the back door, turning on the lights but leaving the closed sign hanging. Lucas helps me set up the small seating area where I host special customers for afternoon tea. I'll go get them and bring them in through the back, Lucas says, checking his watch. Give yourself a moment to get ready. After he leaves, I stand in the middle of my bakery. My heart is hammering. What do you say to parents you haven't seen since you were 4 years old? What do they expect from me? What if they don't like who I've become? I hear car doors outside. Voices approach the back entrance. Lucas's voice says something reassuring. A woman's voice, high with emotion. A deeper man's voice, trying to sound calm but trembling slightly. And then the door opens, and they're there. My parents. Older than in the newspaper photos, but immediately recognizable. The woman, Clara, has my curly hair, though hers is silver now. The man, Maxwell, has my eyes the same unusual gray-blue. For a long moment, we just stare at each other. The chasm of 30 lost years stretches between us. Then Clara steps forward, her hand outstretched, as if she's afraid I might disappear again if she moves too fast. Joanna, she whispers. My name is like a prayer on her lips. Is it really you? Yes, I say. My voice is barely audible. It's me. Clara covers her mouth with her hand. Tears stream down her face. Maxwell stands behind her, a hand on her shoulder, his own eyes glistening. May I? Clara begins, then pauses, overwhelmed. May I hug you? The question is so hesitant, so cautious, that something inside me breaks. I nod, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. She steps forward and wraps her arms around me. She's small, I'm several inches taller, but her embrace is fierce, as if she's afraid I'll be snatched away from her again. Maxwell joins us, his arms encircling us both. And for the first time in my memory, I know what it feels like to be held by parents who actually want me. We stay like that for what feels like an eternity, yet not nearly long enough. When we finally pull apart, all three of us are crying. I'm so sorry, Clara says, wiping her eyes. We promised ourselves we wouldn't overwhelm you. It's okay, I assure her, finding my voice again. This is overwhelming for all of us. Lucas discreetly excuses himself, promising to come back later. We sit down at the small table I prepared. The awkwardness of strangers mingles with the deep bond of family. We have so many questions, Maxwell says. His voice is steadier now. But most importantly, are you all right? How is your life? He trails off, visibly struggling to ask if the people who stole me treated me well. I'm doing well now, I say carefully. My childhood wasn't ideal, but I've built a good life for myself. I gesture around the bakery. This place is mine. I worked hard for it. Pride flashes in their eyes. Such a strange, unfamiliar expression to have directed at me. Tell us about yourself, Clara urges. Anything you want to tell us? So I do. I tell them that I left the Coles when I was 21, that I worked multiple jobs at once while taking night classes at a community college, and that I saved every penny to open my bakery. I tell them about my friends, my small but meaningful life. I carefully leave out the worst parts of my childhood. The neglect, the emotional abuse, the constant feeling of being unwanted. There will be time for those truths later. And you? I ask. Once I run out of the simple things. Lucas told me a little bit, but I'd like to hear it from you. They exchange a look loaded with 3 decades of shared grief before Maxwell speaks. After you disappeared, we almost didn't survive it. As a couple or as individuals. He reaches for Clara's hand. But we made a pact that we would never stop looking for you. Never stop hoping. Maxwell built his company from the ground up. Clara continues. Berkov Tech started as a security software firm specializing in child safety technology. Now it's a Fortune 500 company. That's where the reward money came from, Maxwell explains. I increased it every year on your birthday. It started as a financial incentive for information, but over time, it became something more. A measure of how much we missed you, and how much we would give to get you back. And I started the Homecoming Foundation, Clara adds. We help families of missing children with resources, support, and private investigators when police investigations stall. Like Lucas, I say. She nods. He's been with us for 10 years. He's found 17 missing children in that time. But not me, I say softly. Until now. Maxwell's voice breaks at the words. Joanna, I have to tell you something. That reward money belongs to you, no matter what happens next. It doesn't matter if you want us in your life or not. It doesn't matter if you can ever forgive us for failing to protect you. Forgive you, I interrupt, stunned. You have nothing to ask forgiveness for. You did nothing wrong. We let you out of our sight, Clara says. Her voice is hollow with an old, familiar guilt. Only for a moment. But I have relived that moment every single day for 30 years. I reach across the table and take her hands in mine. Listen to me. What happened was not your fault. It was the fault of Kevin and Beatrice Cole, and theirs alone. Something shifts in their expressions. A softening. A release. Perhaps it's the first time in 3 decades they've truly believed those words. The DNA results are clear, Maxwell says after a moment, changing the subject. But the police will want formal statements from all of us, and there will likely be a trial eventually. I know, I say. I'm ready for it. There's something else, Clara says hesitantly. We've kept your room in our house all these years. We kept it ready for you. She quickly continues. Not that we expect you to move in or anything. You have your own life. But we would love for you to visit us whenever you feel comfortable. I'd like that, I say, surprised to realize I mean it. My phone vibrates. A text message from Frank Cole. Joanna, we need to talk. Tyler and I had no idea. Please believe me. I show Maxwell and Clara the message. Your brothers? Clara asks, then corrects herself. The Cole sons. Yes, I confirm. I don't know if they knew the truth or not. The police will have to determine that, Maxwell says. A hardness enters his voice for the first time. Anyone who kept you from us. I don't think they knew, I say. They were younger than me, but they benefited from it, whether they realized it or not. As I say the words, the full reality of what was stolen from me suddenly crashes down. Not just a family that loved me, but a life of privilege and opportunity. Instead of being treated as worthless by the Coles, I could have grown up as Joanna Berkov, the beloved daughter of Maxwell and Clara, with every advantage and every chance. The injustice is staggering. Maxwell seems to read my thoughts. We can never get back the time that was stolen from us, he says gently. But we have right now, and the future if you want it. I do, I say, surprising myself with the certainty I feel. I really do. 2 days later, I'm standing nervously in front of a beautiful Victorian estate in one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in San Francisco. My heart is hammering against my ribs. Maxwell and Clara, I'm still getting used to calling them Mom and Dad, are waiting patiently for me to be ready to go inside. Take your time, Clara says softly. There's no rush. I take a deep breath and nod. Maxwell unlocks the door and steps aside so I can enter first. The house is warm and inviting, filled with natural light and tasteful furniture, not flashy, despite the obvious wealth behind it. Photos line the walls and shelves, many of a little blonde girl. It's me in my first 4 years, smiling, being loved. Would you like a tour? Maxwell asks, watching me closely. Yes, I manage to say, overwhelmed by the evidence of how much I was loved. They show me the ground floor, the living room with its wall of books, the kitchen where Clara tells me she used to bake with me. You loved helping with cookies, even though you usually ate more dough than actually made it into the oven. The sunroom looks out over a lush garden with a treehouse Maxwell built when I was 3. Then, with gentle solemnity, they lead me upstairs. This is your room, Clara says, pausing in front of a closed door. We've updated it over the years, based on what we imagined you might like. If it's too much, I want to see it, I assure her. Maxwell opens the door, and I step into a room that exists somewhere between a shrine for a lost 4-year-old and a space designed for a young woman who never had the chance to grow up here. The walls are a soft sage green. The furniture is simple but elegant. Bookshelves line one wall, filled with books for every age. Picture books from my early childhood, then chapter books, young adult novels, And finally, classics and contemporary fiction, as if they had kept buying books for me as I grew up. On the dresser, framed photos of me as a toddler sit next to empty frames places waiting to be filled with new memories. A desk in the corner holds a computer and a stack of sketchbooks. You love to draw, Clara explains, following my gaze. We thought you might still like it. I shake my head. The Coles didn't encourage creativity, I say. The words come out flatter than I intended. I haven't drawn since I was little. Pain flitters across their faces, but they quickly hide it. There's one more thing we want to show you, Maxwell says, after a moment, leading me to a door in the hallway. This was supposed to be your studio once you were old enough. He opens the door to a sun-drenched room with easels, shelves full of art supplies, and a large work table. Unlike my bedroom, this room doesn't feel frozen in time. It feels like possibility. We always believed we would find you, Clara says softly. We had to. I turn away, overwhelmed with emotion, and my gaze falls on a door at the end of the hall. What's in there? A shadow passes over their faces. That was going to be a nursery, Maxwell admits. For a sibling we wanted to adopt after we couldn't find you. But it never felt right. The weight of everything that was stolen, not just from me but from them as well, settles heavily on my shoulders. A family that never grew, a room that was never filled, 30 years of holding a place for a child who wasn't there. I want some time alone, I say suddenly, just to process all of this. Of course, Clara says immediately. Do you want to stay in your room, or should we show you the guest room if that's more comfortable? My room is fine, I say, testing how the words feel. My room, not a converted storage space or a grudgingly offered guest room, but a place that was always meant for me. They leave me with gentle assurances to take all the time I need. I sit on the edge of the bed, my bed, and look around at the life that was prepared for me, waiting patiently for 30 years. On the nightstand sits a small music box. I open it, and a delicate melody begins to play. Something stirs in the deepest corners of my memory. This melody, these notes. I close my eyes and, for a fleeting moment, I'm 4 years old again. Safe and secure, I listen to this melody as I fall asleep. The memory vanishes as quickly as it came, leaving me aching for more. Will other memories return, or are those first 4 years lost forever? My phone vibrates with another text from Frank. Please, Joanna, just 10 minutes. We looked everywhere for you. We had no idea what our parents had done. Let us explain. I hesitate, then type back. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock at my bakery, just you and Tyler. Without Kevin or Beatrice. His reply comes instantly. Thank you. We'll be there. I set the phone aside and continue to explore the room. I open drawers filled with clothes that reflect my age at different times. Everything has been taken out of the original packaging and washed, as if Clara wanted them to feel lived in, ready for my return. In the closet, I find a small box labeled Joanna's Treasures. Inside are the keepsakes of a child. A collection of smooth stones, seashells from a trip to the beach, a pressed flower, and a small toy truck, the blue truck from my fragments of memory. I hold it in my hand and turn it over. On the bottom, a name is written in clumsy, childish handwriting. Joanna. Something breaks loose inside me. It's not quite a memory, but a sense of certainty. That was mine. I held that, I played with it, I loved that. For the first time since I learned the truth, I allow myself to cry, completely uninhibited. For the little girl who was stolen, for the family that was shattered, for all the lost years we can never get back. But also, unexpectedly, for the life I managed to build for myself despite everything. The strength I found within. The woman I became without their guidance. There's a soft knock at the door. Joanna? Clara calls out. Are you hungry? I've made lunch, but no rush. I wipe away my tears, still clutching the blue truck. I'll be right down, I call back. I am Joanna Burkhoff, and I am finally home. The bakery is closed to customers, but I've been awake since 5 regardless. Baking. It's what I do when I'm nervous. And today, I am very nervous. Clara is with me. After spending last night in my childhood bedroom, I asked if she would come into the city with me for this meeting. Maxwell wanted to come too, but I thought his barely suppressed rage toward the Coles would make talking to Frank and Tyler difficult. He reluctantly agreed to stay home, but made me promise to call immediately afterward. You don't have to do this, Clara says, watching me aggressively knead a batch of dough. You don't owe them anything. I know, I say, pressing my hands into the soft, yielding mass, but I need answers. And if they really didn't know, I don't finish the thought. What if they didn't know? Does that change anything? Does it make up for the years of petty cruelties? The constant feeling of being worth less? At exactly 10 o'clock, there's a knock at the front door of the bakery. Clara squeezes my shoulder in silent support as I wipe my hands and let them in. Frank and Tyler Cole are standing awkwardly on the sidewalk. They look terrible, unshaven, with dark circles under their eyes. Their usually flawless clothes are wrinkled. Good. A petty part of me thinks they should suffer a little. I unlock the door and step back to let them in, without offering a greeting. Joanna, Frank begins, but he stops when he notices Clara standing at the counter with her arms crossed. I didn't know you had company. This is Clara Burkhoff, I say curtly. My mother. They both flinch at the word mother, their eyes darting between us, undoubtedly noticing the resemblance. So it's true, Tyler says, his voice hollow. What they're saying on the news. The story leaked yesterday. Kidnapped heiress found after 30 years. Fortunately, the media hasn't published my current name or location yet. Yes, I confirm. It's true. I was kidnapped at the age of 4 by Kevin and Beatrice Cole. They forged adoption papers and spent 21 years pretending I was their unwanted charity case. Frank runs a hand through his hair. It's a gesture so familiar that my chest aches with conflicting emotions. Joanna, we had no idea. You have to believe us. Do I? I ask coldly. We were just kids, Tyler protests. I was 2 when you came to us. Frank was barely born. How could we have known? But as you got older, I press. Did you never wonder why I was treated so differently? Why I had to do all the chores while everything was handed to both of you? Why I was the adopted one and never just your sister? They exchange guilty looks. We thought that was just how adoption worked, Frank says lamely. That you weren't really part of the family in the same way. And that seemed okay to us. Tyler looks down. We were children. We accepted what our parents told us. And by the time you were old enough to question it, I was gone. I finished the sentence for him. We tried to find you, Frank says earnestly. After you left, Mom and Dad didn't want to talk about it. They said you were ungrateful and wanted nothing to do with the family. But we looked for you. We asked around. We just never found you. Clara speaks for the first time. Her voice is controlled, but icy. And did it never occur to you to wonder why a 21-year-old woman would completely avoid her family? What could have driven her to that? The brothers shift uncomfortably. We knew things weren't ideal for her, Tyler admits. But we were selfish teenagers, wrapped up in our own lives. When did you find out the truth? I ask. 2 days ago, Frank says. When the police came back with more questions for Mom and Dad, they didn't want to tell us anything. But we overheard enough, and then we confronted them and Dad admitted it, he cried. Tyler adds, as if that somehow excuses 30 years of crime. He said it was never supposed to happen like that. They desperately needed money, and it was only supposed to be a quick ransom demand. But then the story got too big, and they panicked. And Mom? I ask, already knowing the answer. Frank's expression hardens. She doesn't think they did anything wrong. She says they gave you a better life than you would have had in foster care after they found you abandoned. A bitter laugh escapes me. A better life? They treated me like Cinderella without the fairy godmother. They made me feel worthless every single day. We're so sorry, Tyler says. His eyes are damp. We should have seen it. We should have done something. Yes, I agree coldly. You should have. Clara puts a hand on my arm, a gentle reminder that I don't have to do this, that I can ask them to leave at any time. But now that they're here, I realize I have more questions. What happens to your parents now? They're under house arrest, Frank says. Their passports have been confiscated. The FBI has taken over the investigation. There's talk of federal charges for kidnapping, fraud, and identity theft. They're going to prison, Tyler adds. His voice is hollow. And they should. What they did is unforgivable. And where does that leave us? I ask. The question that has haunted me since they first texted me. They exchange a look I can't quite read. That's up to you, Frank says cautiously. We understand if you never want to see us again. But we hope that one day you might see us as brothers again. Or at least as people who care about you and want to make things right. We can't change the past, Tyler adds. But we want to be part of your future, if you'll let us. I look at Clara, whose expression clearly says that this is my decision alone. I don't know, I say honestly. I don't know if I can separate you from what your parents did, or from how I was treated in this house. I need time. We understand, Frank says quickly. Take all the time you need. We're here. Whatever you decide. As they turn to leave, Tyler gently holds my arm. For what it's worth, Joanna, I'm glad you found your way home. After they leave, I sink onto a bakery stool, emotionally drained. You handled that remarkably well, Clara says, sitting down next to me. Did I? I feel like I should have been angrier or more forgiving. I don't know what the right reaction is. She takes my hand. There is no right reaction, only your authentic one. Whatever you feel, anger, confusion, even conflicting love for the boys who grew up as your brothers, it's all valid. I lean my head on her shoulder, a gesture that feels both new and somehow ancient, as if my body remembers what my mind cannot. How do I move forward from here? I ask softly. One day at a time, she answers, stroking my hair. Just one day at a time. 2 weeks later, I'm standing nervously in the spotless kitchen of my childhood home, my real childhood home, stirring a sauce made from homegrown tomatoes. Clara stands nearby. She isn't interfering, but she clearly wants to help. Are you sure you don't want me to? I say, Mom, the word is still new, but it feels more natural every time I use it. I've got this. I cook for a living after all. Remember? She laughs and raises her hands in surrender. Of course. I'll just go check on your father. He's been fretting over the wine selection for an hour now. Tonight is important. The first dinner with the entire extended Berghoff family. Aunts, uncles, cousins, I never knew I had. Everyone is gathering to meet the long-lost Joanna. The pressure to make a good impression is immense, even though Clara and Maxwell insist that everyone is just happy I've been found. They're your family, Clara assured me earlier. They'll love you no matter what. It's a concept so foreign to my experience with the Coles that I still can't quite grasp it. As I taste the sauce and adjust the seasoning, Maxwell enters the kitchen with 2 bottles of wine. Red or white? With the pasta? He asks, looking genuinely confused. I can never remember the rules. Both, I suggest, smiling at his uncertainty. Let people choose what they prefer. He beams at me as if I've solved a complex equation. Brilliant. That's exactly what we'll do. In these small moments, I catch glimpses of myself in them. My practical nature is reflected in Clara. My attention to detail is reflected in Maxwell. Qualities I had always attributed to my own determination might be hereditary after all. The doorbell rings, and in his haste to open it, Maxwell nearly drops the wine bottles. They're here, Clara says, nervously smoothing her dress. Are you ready? As ready as I can be, I answer, wiping my hands on a towel and taking a deep breath. The next hour is a whirlwind of introductions. Exclamations about my resemblance to Clara, tearful hugs from aunts I've never met, and cousins who keep saying, I can't believe you're really here. Maxwell's sister Elizabeth holds my face between her hands and says, You are a Berghoff through and through. Clara's brother Michael tells me stories of my first birthday, how I smeared cake all over my face and laughed until I had the hiccups. It's overwhelming, but in the best way possible. These people have been waiting for me, holding a place for me, never forgetting the little girl who disappeared. During dinner, my Uncle Robert raises his glass for a toast. To Joanna, who found her way home against all odds, and to Maxwell and Clara, who never lost faith. To Joanna, everyone joins in. Glasses are raised, eyes are glistening. I look around the table at these faces, my family, and feel something I've rarely experienced before. Belonging. After dinner, as everyone heads into the living room for coffee and dessert, my cousin Alina pulls me aside. I don't know if you remember, she says hesitantly, but we were best friends when we were little. We were only 4, but we were inseparable. I shake my head apologetically. I'm sorry, I don't remember much from back then. That's okay, she assures me quickly. I just wanted you to know that I never forgot you. Every birthday, I'd ask Aunt Clara if they'd found you yet. Her eyes fill with tears. I've missed you my whole life, even though I barely knew you. I'm not sure how to respond to such raw emotion, but I hug her. This cousin, who carried the memory of our friendship for 30 years. Later, as the evening winds down, Clara finds me in a quiet corner where I'm watching the family interactions with a mix of wonder and wistfulness. Overwhelming? She asks softly. A little, I admit, but in a good way. They're so warm. They've waited a long time to welcome you home. She hesitates and then adds, There's something we haven't talked about yet. The reward money. I stiffen slightly. I told you I don't want it. I know you said that, but Maxwell and I have talked about it, and we're very sure. This money belongs to you. We set it aside for you, and regardless of how you came back to us, it's yours. But I didn't find myself, I object. Edith Stein has already received a substantial thank you, Clara interrupts gently. But the reward fund, the full $100 million, we've already transferred to a trust account in your name. My head spins at that amount. More money than I could spend in several lifetimes. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just know it's there for whatever you want to do with it. Keep running your bakery. Expand it. Travel the world. Go back to school. Whatever you want. Or donate it, I suggest. An idea is forming to help other missing children. Clara's eyes fill with tears. That would be a beautiful use for it, if that's what you want. The evening ends with more hugs and promises to meet again soon, with invitations to various family events in the coming months. As the last guests leave, I help Clara and Maxwell clean up, finding a simple rhythm that feels both new and familiar. Thank you, I say, as we load the dishwasher together. For everything, for never giving up on me. Maxwell pulls me into a tight hug. We couldn't give up. You're our daughter. Later, as I lie in my childhood bed, surrounded by the life I should have had, I think about the Coles. Their preliminary hearing is next week. The evidence against them is overwhelming. Not just Edith Stein's testimony, but financial records showing the cash withdrawal right before I moved in with them, phone records from that time, and worst of all, the DNA evidence proving that I am, without question, Joanna Berghoff. My phone vibrates with a text message. It's from Tyler. Just wanted to check on you. Hope you're doing well. I've been replying sporadically to messages from Frank and Tyler. I'm not ready to cut contact completely, but I'm also not sure how to build a new relationship with them. In a strange way, they are the only connection to my past, even if that past was built on lies. I'm doing fine, I write back. I had dinner with my extended family tonight. There is a long pause before his reply comes. That's great. You deserve a real family. I put the phone aside without answering. Too many conflicting emotions are swirling inside me. Tomorrow, I'll meet with the prosecutor to prepare for the hearing. Tomorrow, I have to face Kevin and Beatrice Cole in the courtroom. But tonight, I am Joanna Berghoff, daughter of Maxwell and Clara, surrounded by the love that was meant for me all along. And for now, that is enough. The courtroom is smaller than I expected, intimate in a way that makes it impossible to hide from the intensity of the moment. I'm sitting between Maxwell and Clara in the first row behind the prosecution's table, aware of every eye on us. The preliminary hearing is only meant to determine if there's enough evidence for a trial, but it feels monumental. The first public acknowledgement of what was done to me. Lucas Vogt is sitting with us, a calm presence in the storm. Across the aisle, Frank and Tyler sit alone. No other family members have come to support their parents. They give me a solemn nod as we enter, but don't come any closer. Maxwell whispers, asking if I'm okay, his hand resting protectively on my shoulder. I nod, not trusting my voice. The truth is, I don't know how I feel. The last 2 weeks have been a whirlwind of emotions. Joy at finding my real family, anger over what was stolen from me, and confusion about my place in the world. A door opens, and Kevin and Beatrice Cole are led in by court officers. They aren't in handcuffs. This isn't a criminal trial yet, but they look smaller somehow. Kevin's shoulders are slumped in a way I've never seen before. Beatrice's usually perfect hair and makeup look rushed. Their eyes find me immediately. Identical looks of shock flash across their faces when they see Maxwell and Clara on either side of me. Maybe they expected me to be alone, just as I was for so many years under their roof. The judge enters the room, and we all rise. The proceedings begin with formal introductions and explanations of the hearing's purpose. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Katrin Richter, outlines the charges: kidnapping across state lines, identity fraud, and forging government documents. She says the evidence will show that on April 12th, 1994, the defendants kidnapped 4-year-old Joanna Berghoff from her family home in San Francisco, transported her to Los Angeles, and then used forged documents to establish a new identity for her as their supposedly adopted child. The defense attorney, an expensive-looking man in a tailored suit, argues that the statute of limitations for most of the charges has expired, a technicality that the judge immediately shuts down. She points out that kidnapping is a federal offense that doesn't expire, nor do many of the fraud charges when a minor is involved. As witnesses are called Edith Stein, frail but determined, FBI agents who handled the original case, forensic accountants who tracked suspicious cash withdrawals, I feel strangely detached, like I'm watching a movie about someone else's life. Until they call me to the stand. I've been prepared for this moment, but nothing can truly get you ready to sit across from the people who stole your life and speak the truth they tried so hard to hide. The prosecutor begins by intentionally using my real name, asking me to tell the court about my relationship with the defendants. I take a deep breath and look directly at Kevin and Beatrice. They raised me from the age of 4 until I left their house at 21. They told me I was adopted, but they treated me very differently than their biological children. I had to do most of the chores. I had fewer privileges and was frequently reminded that I should be grateful they took me in. And how did I discover my true identity? At George Cole's funeral 2 weeks ago, a woman named Edith Stein approached me. She told me I'd been kidnapped, not adopted, and showed me newspaper articles about my disappearance. She had helped forge the adoption papers. When asked for my reaction to this information, I weighed the question carefully. At first, it was disbelief, then anger, then a sense of relief in a way. It explained why I was always treated as inferior. It wasn't because something was wrong with me. It was because I was never supposed to be there. The questioning continues. Every answer pulls another thread from the carefully constructed lie I've lived in for so long. When it's the defense's turn, his approach is subtle but clear. He wants to portray Kevin and Beatrice as misguided but well-intentioned, suggesting they sincerely believed they were saving an abandoned child. He asks with practiced concern if the Coles provided me with food, shelter, education, and medical care throughout my childhood. The bare minimum, I answer, refusing to be manipulated. Yes, I was fed. Yes, I had a roof over my head. But I also had to work for those basics, in a way their biological children never did. And yet, he presses, they kept me. They didn't abandon me or put me in foster care. Something inside me snaps. They kept me, because giving me back would have meant admitting they stole me, I say, my voice getting slightly louder. They kept me as free labor for the house. They kept me while consciously robbing me of love, belonging, my true identity, and my family. I look directly at Kevin and Beatrice, who both flinch under my gaze. They didn't keep me out of kindness. They kept me because they were afraid of getting caught. The defense attorney has no more questions. When I'm finally allowed to leave the stand, my legs are shaky. But my mind is clear. I've spoken my truth. No matter what happens next, they can never take that away from me. The hearing continues with expert testimony about the DNA match, confirming that I am the biological daughter of Maxwell and Clara Burkhoff. Financial records show suspicious cash withdrawals by Kevin Cole just before my adoption. Phone logs place him in San Francisco on the day of my disappearance. When the judge calls for a lunch break, the outcome seems inevitable. There is more than enough evidence to proceed with a trial. In the hallway, Maxwell puts a protective arm around my shoulders. He tells me I was wonderful, his voice thick with emotion. Clara adds that they are so proud of me and squeezes my hand. I'm about to answer when I notice Frank and Tyler nearby. They clearly want to speak to me, but are hesitating while I'm with my parents. I ask Maxwell and Clara for a minute. They exchange a look but nod and step aside to give me some privacy. Frank tells me I was incredible in there, speaking the truth while they were staring at me. I admit it wasn't easy, but it was necessary not just for me, but for my parents. My real parents, I clarify, though I didn't need to. Tyler nods, his eyes darting to Maxwell and Clara, who are pretending not to watch us. He says they seem like good people. I confirm that they are, and that they never stopped looking for me. An awkward silence falls between us, heavy with unspoken questions and regret. I finally ask if they've spoken to their parents today. Frank shakes his head. He says they don't want to see them. They think they betrayed them by believing me. I ask if they did betray them. Tyler says no, firmly. He says they betrayed themselves when they stole a child and lied about it for 30 years. We're just refusing to be part of the lie anymore. His bluntness surprises me. Of the two brothers, Tyler was always the follower, the one who wanted to please everyone. This newfound backbone is unexpected. What will you do if they go to prison? I ask, curious in spite of myself. When they go to prison, Frank corrects. And we'll do what we've always done. I'll keep teaching history at the high school. Tyler will finish his medical residency. Life goes on. He hesitates. We'd like you to be a part of that life, whenever you're ready. Not as a replacement for your real family, but maybe as friends someday. I don't have an answer for him yet, so I just nod non-committally. We should head back inside. The hearing is about to resume. As we part ways, Tyler gently touches my arm. For what it's worth, Joanna, I'm glad you found your way home. The afternoon session is brief but decisive. The judge rules that there is more than enough evidence to proceed with a criminal trial. Kevin and Beatrice are formally charged, and bail is set at such a high amount that it's clearly designed to keep them in custody. As they're led away, Beatrice turns to look at me one last time. There's no remorse in her eyes, only cold resentment, as if I had wronged her by reclaiming my true identity. Kevin at least has the decency to look ashamed. Outside the courthouse, reporters have gathered, drawn by the sensational story. Maxwell and Clara shield me from their questions, while Lucas helps us navigate to a waiting car. The prosecutor thinks they'll probably take a plea deal, Lucas says as we drive away. The evidence is overwhelming, and a trial would only expose them to maximum sentences. How long would they have to serve? I ask. For federal kidnapping? At least 20 years? Possibly life? He answers. Even with a deal, they're facing significant prison time. I take this in silently. Justice? Yes. But no sentence could ever restore the 30 years that were stolen from us. Back at my parents' house, we sit in the kitchen, emotionally exhausted from the day. Clara is cooking a small, caring gesture that still feels new to me. What happens now? I ask, holding the warm mug. Now, Maxwell says, reaching for my hand, we start building a future together. It sounds simple when he says it, but I know it'll be anything but easy. We have 30 years of absence to make up for, expectations to manage, and relationships to define. But looking at these two people who never stop searching for me, I realize I'm ready for the challenge. Together, I agree. And for the first time since I discovered the truth, I feel the weight of the past starting to lift. 6 months later, I'm standing in the bright kitchen of my new bakery, Berghoff and Daughter, arranging fresh pastries in the display case for our grand opening. The name was Maxwell's idea, a public acknowledgement of my restored identity and my family connection. Kevin and Beatrice Cole took a deal, just as Lucas predicted. 25 years each, with no possibility of parole for at least 15. Justice, or as close to it as we'll ever get. The reward money, my money, was put to various uses. Half went to starting a foundation for the families of missing children, providing resources beyond what law enforcement can offer. A quarter is invested for my future. The rest funded this beautiful new bakery. It's 3 times the size of my old one, with a state-of-the-art kitchen and a cozy coffee area. Do you need any help? Maxwell asks, emerging from the back room where he's been setting up the new accounting software. At 68, he's officially retired from Maxwell Tech, but he still consults occasionally. Mostly, though, he spends his time helping me with the business side of the bakery, learning to bake with mixed results, and making up for lost time. I think we're all set, I tell him, straightening a stack of napkins Clara designed, featuring our logo. It's a simple line drawing of a whisk inside a house, representing the blend of baking and family. Clara comes out from the coffee area, where she's been arranging fresh flowers on every table. It looks beautiful, sweetheart, she says, beaming with pride. I couldn't have done it without both of you, I say. And I mean it. Their support emotionally, practically, and financially has been unwavering throughout this transition. The bell over the door rings and we all turn, surprised, since we're officially still closed for another hour. Frank and Tyler Cole walk in, each carrying a large gift basket. Sorry we're early, Frank says, seeing our surprised looks. We just wanted to drop these off before the rush starts. My relationship with the Cole brothers has developed cautiously over the last few months. Not quite friendship, not quite family, but something in between, a bond forged by a shared, if complicated, history. You didn't have to bring anything, I say, taking the baskets. Of course we did, Tyler replies. It's not every day your sister opens her dream bakery. The word sister hangs in the air, neither rejected nor fully accepted. We're all careful with labels, recognizing that our connection defies easy categorization. Maxwell and Clara exchange a look. They've been remarkably understanding about my ongoing contact with Frank and Tyler, never pushing me to cut ties despite their understandable resentment toward anything related to the Coles. We won't stay, Frank says, sensing the slight tension. We just wanted to wish you luck. We'll be back next week during regular hours. After they leave, Clara puts an arm around my waist. You have a big heart, Joanna. Your capacity for forgiveness is remarkable. It's not forgiveness, I correct her. It's understanding. They were children too, victims of their parents' choices in a different way. The rest of the morning flies by with final preparations. At exactly 10 o'clock, Maxwell unlocks the front door, and Berghoff and Daughter officially opens to the public. The response is overwhelming. Our story was in the news, of course, which was inevitable given the high profile of the case, and it seems like the whole city has come out to support us. By noon, we're almost sold out, and I have to start a new batch of my famous cinnamon rolls. Amidst the chaos, I spot a familiar face. Edith Stein, looking healthier than when we last met, is waiting patiently in line. When she reaches the counter, I come out to greet her personally. I wasn't sure if I should come, she admits, her eyes taking in the busy bakery. But I wanted to see how you were doing. I'm glad you did, I tell her sincerely. None of this would have happened without you. She shakes her head. I only helped right a wrong that I was a part of. I don't deserve praise for that. We all have regrets, I say, thinking of my own. The years I spent believing I was unwanted, the walls I built, the opportunities I missed. What matters is what we do next. After she leaves with a box of pastries I insisted she take for free, Clara finds me during a quiet moment. Are you okay? she asks, noticing my reflective mood. I'm just thinking about how much has changed in 6 months. How much I've changed. She smiles and tucks a loose lock of hair behind my ear, a gesture that has become comfortingly familiar. You've always been extraordinary, Joanna. That's something the Coles couldn't take from you, no matter how hard they tried. By the time we close up shop, we're exhausted but euphoric. The day was a massive success, with pre-orders already piled up for the rest of the week. As we're locking up, a text message comes in from Maxwell's sister, Elizabeth. Sunday family dinner, as usual. Alina is bringing her new boyfriend by for inspection. We need reinforcements. I laugh and show the message to Clara and Maxwell. The Burkhoff family dinners have become a staple of my life. Chaotic, loving gatherings where I'm slowly finding my place. Should we tell her we're in? Maxwell asks, already knowing the answer. I wouldn't miss it for the world, I tell him. Later, in the quiet of my new apartment, a beautiful place near my parents' home, I sit on my balcony and watch the sunset over the bay. On the table next to me sits a simple blue toy truck, a tangible connection to my earliest years. My phone vibrates with a notification. Someone has made a significant donation to the Joanna Burkhoff Foundation for Missing Children, which was started with half of the reward money. The foundation has already helped reunite 3 families and provide support services to dozens more. As I watch the sky turn from gold to deep blue, I think back on the incredible journey of the last 6 months. From Joanna Cole, the unwanted adopted daughter treated like a servant, to Joanna Burkhoff, the beloved daughter, successful entrepreneur, and advocate for missing children. The path forward isn't perfectly clear. There are still wounds to heal, relationships to navigate, and a lifetime of catching up to do with my parents. But for the first time in my memory, I'm not walking this path alone. I am Joanna Burkhoff. I was lost, but now I am found. And my story is just beginning.